Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala syarafil anbiya mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, with the grace and the mercy and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are able to do this da'wah by giving free life coach training program. Inshallah, over the next 10 years, we want to train 12,000 of you all over the world. Using post-Islamic psychology, we teach you Islamic motivation, coaching, mentoring, counseling, and you can get yourself certified as a life coach to serve the Ummah, to serve your mosque, NGO, as well as your professional development as a trainer, human resource consultant, counselor, and so on, depending on your qualification, inshallah. So it's very varied. We have more than 600 videos. And as I've explained earlier on, this civilization that we are living, the 21st century civilization, is facing our own existential existence of collapse through the climate change, ecological disaster, political disaster, social disaster, moral disaster. All the disasters combined together will make life on this planet Earth very difficult, and this civilization may collapse in about 30 years from now. Wallahu alam bissawab. There will be human beings, but no more civilization. It's just a terrible situation that it is beyond imagination of any intellectual person who can realize and see the gravity of this challenge in which we have destroyed this planet Earth within the last 150 years of pumping CO2, using fossil fuel to power our civilization. But it is a civilization that is doomed because we play around with the ecology and the climate which Allah has given in just balance. So we have to change ourselves, our family, the Ummah. Alright? And it is important that we bring Islam, this beautiful deen, back to its original intrinsic nature, that is the heart of love. So all our research on conscious mind, body, heart, cult research, and so on, all try to consolidate this back again, inshallah, over the next 100 videos, giving you some idea of what we mean Islam as the via media towards a wonderful future for this civilization. If we cross the threshold, that if we can overcome the climate and ecological disaster within the next 30 years, then wallahu alam, maybe we have another 200 or 500 or 1000 years, as Allah so will, before the end of time. So what is important is I have explained to you how our atheistic, materialistic, greedy life and civilization based on fossil fuel is destroying this whole earth. So we have the destruction of human civilization, and we have to transcend. And at the first level, we have to bring human beings who are spiritual. That means they may not have religion, or religion is the same, pluralism. So they have this idea. Okay, but we can slowly embrace them to be in the family of humanity, to work together, to help shape and positively bring this civilization towards a more viable meaning and purpose, and a more viable existence that is acceptable to Allah and acceptable to all humanity, in just balance, in humility, in justice, and so on, for all the goodly creatures on this earth. So then we have another progression of the practices of the formal based Islam, and how actually this caused a lot of problem. Alright, so now I'm going to the next level and so on. Our spiritual Muslims were not practicing the fullness of Islam, but we have the spiritual Muslims, fullness of Iman, Islam and Ihsan, practicing the heart of love. So this is how we're going to approach, and I've given you some idea in the previous video about how actually I compressed the last 500 years of Islamic civilization to the current situation in which we have this Wahhabism, do-it-yourself Salafism, tribalism, that is actually causing a lot of conflict, a lot of internal killing, murder, wars within the Ummah itself. Alright, and we have this range of people who are within the framework of the Takfiri Salafism, political Salafism, and non-political Salafism, pacifist Salafism, which I've given you some idea. So what are the other maladies that we are facing? Alright, reviving the Ummah in the 21st century, we have to look both sides. We cannot blame the Salafis, but we also to look at the other side. Because in Islam, 90% of the Ummah, we are all living within the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We are within the 4 schools that we have embraced the whole philosophy, the whole Tawheed, fiqh, and the theology, tenets of Islam is all based within the framework of Al-Imam Malik, Shafi'i, Hanafi, and Hanbali. And we are all 90% of us of Muslims are there. But there are some conflict within the Ummah over the last 300, 200 years because of the degeneration of Sufism. Actually, within the framework of Islam, the word Sufism is a misnomer. It's an invention by the Orientalists. They use that as a basis, and we have accepted it into our terminology. But Sufism as it is not the real ideology or the understanding of Islam, because when we practice Islam at the level of Iman and Islam and Ihsan, we are practicing actually tasawwufah. So we are not saying that we are Sufis, alright, even though within the framework of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, within this Ummah that is Wasatiyah, we have many schools of tasawwuf. That means we have the Nashbandiyah, we have the Tinjaniyah, we have the Qadariyah, Alamiyah, Muhammadiyah, so many of the thousands of so-called turuk or tarikah that was synonymous with the practice of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But there is a degeneration in terms of the turuk itself, in terms of the tarikah. So that's why even the word tarikah, tariq is actually a path towards God. But if you use it now synonymous with you joining a Sufi group, or you are a member of a tariqat, alright, which is actually a misnomer and is a wrong interpretation of the whole idea of tasawwufah. So what is important is that we can understand that degeneration is not happening only from the right side, on the left side, but also on the right side. So we have the extreme narrowing of the beautiful deen of Islam by the Salafis, the Takfiri especially. Everybody is a kafir except them, and they kill anybody and everybody. That is not Islam, but because they use the term Islam as their brand, it is actually a sad episode of the whole history of Islam. Never happened. These are the neo-Khawarij, the Khawarij that just follow the path of killing, murder, and very narrow interpretation of Islam. So anything outside their narrow interpretation by their sheikh or shuyukh, who could be just a salesman or just a nobody, claiming himself to be the leader, interpreting the Quran and the Hadith according to his whim and fancies. So you have this group of people. So we have the extreme takfiri, we have the political Salafism, and then the passive Salafism. They don't care about the world, that kind of thing. They are more serious about religion, which is okay within the framework of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We can accept them. So we got to draw these people towards us. We also have to draw our people who have gone outside the path of the Wasatiyah, the path of the middle. We have, for example, occultism, Sufism based on magic, Sufism based on tribalism, based on shamanism, and so on. So there are these people. They call themselves Sufis, but they are practicing those kind of occultism. Then we have another group, a free-for-all Sufis. They don't practice the normal prayer, the 5 times prayer, or the zakat, whatever it is. They just, you just love God, God loves you, khalas. So they have the free-for-all Sufis. Alright, and then we have the other category of the pir, or the guru, or the sheikh idolization. They idolize the sheikh to that extent that everybody else is outside their group. And then they have their own single gap, their cap, and so on. And they feel proud to be the member of their tariq, and everybody else is not as good Muslim as they are. So you have this group. Alright? So how are we going to bring them together? And it is important that we understand from the perspective of this deen, Al-Ummah Wasatiyah, we have a very big, wide open understanding. Islam, throughout the whole glorious days, have a lot of alim and ulama from various schools, and they differ, but they are all willing to sit together, willing to discuss, intellectually understand the basis of Tawheed, intelligently be able to discuss the philosophy, the perennial philosophies, and so on. The ilmu kalam, all these are part and parcel of the legacy and the beauty of this wasatiyah, which we have lost. So because we have lost that, we are going to this extreme, because in moment of disaster and difficulties, we go to one narrow vision of our view of Islam, or we go to the other side of occultism, free-for-all Salafism, Sufism, and peer and guru or sheikh idolization. To bring this to the center will bring a beautiful deen in 21st century, and inshallah that will be the beginning of the revival of the ummah. And the basis of this, inshallah, we can even read further how we can use, for example, Hujjatul Islam al-Imam Ghazali's book Ihya Ulumuddin as a basis of the revival of the ummah, in a way in which we can bring together this beautiful deen to face the challenges of human civilizational destruction within the next 30 to 50 years, to bring back, to understand that we are all together on one ship called planet Earth. We must bring everybody, that means the Muslims, whether you are the Salafis or you are the Sufis, bring to the center and practice the fullness of Iman, Islam and Ihsan, which I'm going to give you more ideas, inshallah, over the subsequent video. May Allah bless us and make us among those who live within wasatiyah, knowing that we are the steward of Allah, His Khalifa on this earth, striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, and making the world good, inshallah.